Radio Lawrence. Hey, you found it. This is the Radio Lawrence podcast where we discuss local art, politics, and community. Thanks for joining us as we host conversations with the people that make up the fabric of our town. In studio today is Emily Lysen, Director of Development for the Lawrence Farmers Market. Emily, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So glad to have you here. I want to start with Emily personally. Where are you from? Did you grow up in Lawrence?
I did. I'm born and raised here. I moved around a whole lot. I've lived all over the country, and I've lived in Australia. And then I moved back in 2021 for this job with the Lawrence Farmers Market.
I want to hear more about why you would come back here for the farmers market job. But first, I want to hear what you were doing in Australia.
So I studied abroad there in college, and I learned all about tropical ecology and marine invertebrate biology. I grew up here and was not crazy drawn to the plains. It was not my ecosystem. And then after graduation, I moved back there and I woofed, which is willing workers on organic farms. So I traveled all around Australia, working on different farms and properties and learning how everybody did everything down there. And really figured out I wanted to come back to my hometown and work with farmers here then. And
then you found an opening at the market and
oh,
jumped
no,
on
there was so many more years in between that. No, I came back here and I got my certification with Cal Permaculture Institute and worked on a couple different farms and worked at Local Burger at the same time. So really worked a whole circular loop of growing food and cooking food and serving food and then bringing it back to composting. Then I moved to Seattle and lived there for 5 years and taught kids all about outdoor education and about organic gardening, and I taught adults organic gardening. And then I moved to Brooklyn and was my sister's nanny for my nephew for years, and then moved to Michigan and then moved back to Lawrence. I came back here to help my parents renovate their house, and I fell in love with Lawrence.
Awesome. And so how did you then get involved with the farmers market?
So I'd always been a farmers market shopper growing up here and living everywhere else, shopping at different farmers markets, and just was trying to figure out what I wanted to do coming back here. I really love education and love local food. And so applied for a part-time position, and as I was interviewing for that, they said, hey, we actually have this 2-year grant-funded position. Would you want that? And it was the pandemic, so I said yes. I would love healthcare and some a guaranteed job.
And then you turned that 2 years into you just began your 6th year, right?
That is true. Yeah, it's similar. I was in Brooklyn and I went there to nanny my nephew, and we thought I would last 3 weeks, and I stayed there for 3.5 years. So very similarly, where we had no idea really what I was walking into. I just knew I really wanted to connect people with local food, and have really just blossomed in this career and in this role.
In my designing of this interview, I don't know why, but I chose a Charles Dickens Christmas Carol theme, and tonight you're going to be visited by 3 ghosts. We will start with the ghosts of Market Past. In this flimsy metaphor, I am Charles Dickens, and you, of course, are Ebenezer Scrooge. I'm sorry about that. It's no statement about you personally. I'm just weird. So, ghosts of Markets Past. Give us a little bit of history about the Lawrence Farmers Market. Has it always been at 824 New Hampshire Street? And when did the market begin? Give us a little bit of that background.
One of the coolest things is that this is our 50th year anniversary this year. So we started the market in 1976. It was just 3 farmers selling out of the back of their pickup trucks in the Chamber of Commerce parking lot. And within 3 years, that really blossomed to 40 vendors. So it really blew up real quickly. One of the definitions of a farmer's market is really just 2 or more vendors selling food directly to a customer. And at least one of those has to be an agriculturally produced vendor. We are a producer-only market. We are run by the vendors. They've created this entire organization themselves and how they want it to function. So we are agriculturally based, which means that the vendors that you see there are growing their products themselves. They have, whether it's vegetables, fruits, meats, eggs, whatever it is, the product there, that is grown by that vendor. There's no resell allowed. There's no crafts and like arts and crafts that you're going to see there. If there is anything that's arts and crafts based, they have to grow or harvest at least 75% of their product. But let's go back to the history. So we started in 1976 in that parking lot and then quickly grew larger and larger and needed more space. And so we were in the 1000 block of Vermont for a really long time. And then in 2008, we moved to the parking lots that we're in now. And so some other history is, we started off just, everybody kind of started coming and popping up, and there was really no structure. There was no staff. There was no barricades or anything like that, right? So it was kind of really just loosey-goosey, kind of what people think of as a farmer's market. They're like, think that these just pop up, they come out of nowhere, they disappear, and there's no organization. One of the things that I've learned in this role is we have one saying that's farmers markets don't just happen. So the history of one of the pieces of the history of the market is eventually the farmers started to come earlier and earlier and earlier because they were trying to find the best spot. So they were going, I'm gonna get there at 6. I'm gonna get there at 5. I'm gonna get there at 4:30. And then the customers started coming earlier and earlier and earlier, and then it was all sold out by 6 a.m. So then they said, okay, we need to actually have a little bit of structure. And so they got a market manager to help manage that time of when they open and when they close, so that there was a little bit more structure to it, and then assigning stalls. And slowly is how a lot of markets start to build up, is out of necessity, out of those rules. Then in 2008, we moved to the current parking lot we're in now. And we've been there ever since. And eventually we'll get to this, but we're working on finding where the next phase is.
Let's go ahead and move into Ghosts of Markets Present.
Okay.
You're already on ghost number 3.
I know.
I don't think that's how the story works. I'm not sure. So Ghosts of Markets Present. Tell us about. This is going to be airing right about opening day. Mm-hmm. What day is opening day this year?
Opening day is April 11th. We are always the second Saturday in April for anybody out there paying attention. And then we always go through the Saturday right before Thanksgiving in November. So we're a lot longer than a lot of our other regional markets around here. But second Saturday in April, it's looking like it's going to be gorgeous. I mean, it's 85 degrees right now in March when we're recording. So who knows what's going to happen then. I'm sure we'll have a tornado and some snow in between then. We are every Saturday, 7:30 to 11:30 a.m. at 824 New Hampshire Street in the 800 block of New Hampshire, in those parking lots right there. There's free parking until 9:30. I like to tell people to come early because there's free parking, but after that, there's paid parking. One thing that's really exciting, like I said, it's our 50th year anniversary, so we're really celebrating big. One thing that is we have a float in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. We haven't done that in at least 10 years, which is a big just marketing push. So everybody, hopefully you've heard about things because of that, and you went to the St. Patrick's Day Parade. But after that, April 4th is Easter. We'll have a Easter egg hunt the weekend before the farmer's market opens, where you can hunt around town to find a golden egg with free money to spend at the market inside of it. But other than that, we also have a local food festival coming up this year for the first time ever, June 27th. So we're trying to capture not only our local customers, but also this wonderful giant opportunity of World Cup that's coming to Lawrence. And
everyone's very fired up about it.
I've been on a working group for over a year now, trying to build up and figure out how we're going to do that in Lawrence and what that's going to look like. And so now I'm really excited to, we're getting to it now, right? We have Algeria coming. Their national food is couscous. So it's we're trying to learn, what can we lean into? How can we start to market to their customers and their, people that are going to come in? But also the local food festival is timed with the Free State Film Festival. And so Marlo is going to be focusing on foods with her planning on that. And so we'll kind of play off of each other with cooking local foods and different things like that. So we're still planning that. We literally just got a grant today for $100,000 from the USDA.
Wow.
A couple hours ago. So That's really
I thought
exciting.
you seemed a little extra excited today.
It's really exciting. So we're so excited to launch a huge marketing campaign to bring people out for our 50th year anniversary, but also to celebrate local food in general.
That's huge. So let's hang on this. I know you said you're in the planning phases, but you said June 26th?
June 27th.
June 27th, and it's a local food festival. What kind of things do you have in mind so far in your preliminary plans? It sounds like there's going to be cooking involved.
Yeah, we'll
not
have
just...
some chef demonstrations. So we're hoping to, talk to different local chefs and have them cook local food to showcase either themselves or maybe lean into the World Cup aspect of different foods and cultures and things like that. But really the whole point is to show who we are as Kansas and kind of celebrate what we have. I tried to plan out this event as late in the season as possible so we can hopefully get some tomatoes and corn because we're so well known for that. But also not go into like 4th of July and not go into way too much of the heat of the summer. My biggest concern is how hot it's going to be and people coming from other countries and other parts of our country that aren't prepared for the heat and the humidity here. So I wrote into that grant misting tents. So we're really excited to help cool people down and provide shade for people that are out there. But honestly, part of this grant that we got is to help plan for this festival, and so we're gonna hit the ground running. We have 2 big consulting marketing firms that we're gonna reach out to that we have planned with us. We're gonna do some translations of signs with KU's International School. And just really try to do a big marketing push. We'll have great new posters and T-shirts and lots of new merchandise to celebrate our 50th year anniversary, and we'll kind of all be roped in together with that. As we've been building our St. Patrick's Day parade float, we also have that designed to have those pieces be removable and be used at the farmers market throughout the rest of the year. So we have really cool, put your face through the whole thing.
I love those.
What's the name of that? We've been trying to figure out.
I don't know. I think they're called Put Your Face Through the Whole Photo things.
Yeah. And so we have those that are different foods that we'll have at market throughout the year to really just celebrate us. And then we have little mini market stalls that are along the sides of our float that we'll have available for kids to play with and people take pictures at and just... But I really hope to expand into New Hampshire Street and close off New Hampshire Street and expand our market for that one day for the local food festival and have a big celebration. One of my ideas would be to have a dunk tank with me in it because, I wear a lot of food costumes. I'm really well known for that. So I am happy to put myself up on that and people dunk me all day.
What a blast. So I guess my internal calendar failed me, and I did not recognize that June 26th is presumably a Saturday, and so this is an expanded regular market day. It's not
exactly.
Not a special event per se, but a special event at a Saturday market.
Exactly. Yeah. We haven't decided if we're going to expand the hours on that or not yet. Again, we had hoped to get this grant in September and hit the ground running in October. And so we're 7 months delayed out from even planning for it, but we couldn't really do much without getting this giant grant. So
that's huge. You can do a lot of stuff with $100,000.
We sure can. I mean, we have a very clear scope of our project because that's how grants work. And that's one of the hardest things with funding is if you're working with grants, you have to work within the parameters of it. But that's what I've learned in my role.
I think this is an appropriate time for me to ask you, how can people follow what's going on with the farmers market and keep an eye on these special events and what kind of things you've got coming up?
The number one way is our customer newsletter. That is our direct to your inbox. Every single week you'll receive updates about what we're doing and opportunities and links to things. That is pretty robust of what we're doing with our customer newsletter. And then our social media is probably our number 2. Our website, we try to keep updated as fast as possible, but there's only 1.5 of us staff out there.
Wow.
So we're doing as much as we can to keep it all running and everybody informed. But sign up for the customer newsletter, and that's how you're going to hear about our permanent location ideas, and the process of everything going on with that. Our opening day thing, all different types of product. Like exciting things that people are coming out, what vendors we have, we have new vendors coming this year. So
And I assume I can sign up for this newsletter on your website.
On our website, lawrencefarmersmarket.org.
All right, let's talk about, you kind of touched already on vendors that we'll find at the farmer's market in regards to what they have, or at least the origins of what they have. What types of vendors will we find at the farmer's market at any given time?
Yeah, so we have, of course, fresh fruits and vegetables. We also have a whole wide range of meats. We have pork, beef, bison, turkey, chicken, lamb, goat, and then 3 different types of eggs. We have feta cheese. I'm trying to think of like some specialty things that people really like. And then we, of course, have like tons of baked goods. So whether you're looking for sourdough breads or sliced breads, we have bagels. We have Slow Rise will be back this year with their stuffed sourdough donuts. We have kettle corn at market. We have local pecans. We have then our different hot foods. So we have like a hot breakfast sandwich, like a bagel sandwich. We have a like breakfast burritos and tamales. We have a pork breakfast sandwich.
I can't let a discussion about individual booths at the market go by without specifically calling out Flory Farms and their delicious sausage sandwiches.
Everybody loves their pork biscuit sandwich. It's been like so long since I've started to talk about the market now. I have to remind myself of all of it. And then there's tons of desserts. There's like creme brulee, like freshly torched creme brulees on site. There's scones. There's brownies and cookies. There's also live plants available, whether you're looking to, plant in your own garden and grow your own food, or a house plant as a gift. Lots of flowers, tons of flower bouquets out there. We just added a new flower vendor, so we have like over 11 flower vendors. Fermented foods, jams, jellies, hummus, hot coffee, and then coffee beans. So, you're going, oh, how did they grow coffee here? No, they did not grow coffee here, but everybody that is selling coffee, it is locally roasted here in Lawrence, and then they also make it. So that is one other thing that's hard. So, like, you're not going to find black tea here because that's not something anybody's able to process locally even. But there are a lot of herbal teas also.
Gotcha. I'm very aware that the farmer's market is very robust, but when I hear you list all of these things, I'm like, wow, they have everything.
I mean, one thing I totally forgot about was wine. We have 5 local wineries also.
Let's take a brief detour of that. How does that work with the liquor laws in Kansas that I might call archaic?
Oh, yes. So farm wineries have their own whole system outside of the normal ABC laws. So farm wineries are allowed to sell on site at their place because they grow and produce it there. And then they also are allowed to sell it at farmers markets. And then I do think that actually beer just got some new updated language like last year.
I would have to check that out.
I don't know for sure because we don't have any breweries, but I want to say there was some. Check that out. Anyway.
But you might have some breweries now if that law changed, yeah?
That's a really good point. Depends on where their ingredients are grown. Hops aren't really known for growing here in Kansas, but you can grow them here. But they would be a processor. That's somebody's never applied. We've had Free State. We've talked with Free State. We've had like sampling things, but. Sampling gets a little complicated with the wineries, and that's the hard part is that they can sell. It's because of how they can sell in the sampling, but it's because they're a farm winery specifically, and so that they grow their own product and then they process it themselves, that they're able to sell on site where they do that. Like Free States can't sell from their bottling facility, but that's like a winery could. It's a little bit different, and I've actually worked with the city and with the state on figuring out and like clarifying a lot of those rules because all 5 wineries had different ABC reps, and those ABC reps had different ideas on how to sample, what licenses are needed for what things, and how this works. So
very cool.
It's a lot of really, the regulations and licensing part is a whole thing, and that's a lot of why we have paid staff is we have to know all of our stuff from the Kansas Department of Agriculture to be able to help a vendor come on board and be following the rules.
So you guys also run a specific set or a pretty wide gamut of special programs. Like you just handed me a punch card that I honestly, in all of my hundreds of trips to the farmer's market. I never knew that I could be getting a punch card. Tell me about this punch card.
Sure thing. The exciting thing, so that means you probably come with cash or use your card at a booth, and so you don't need to come get market tokens. So market tokens is one of our programs, and I'll go back. So people come to the farmer's market booth to get market tokens that act just like cash. I'll go back to that in a minute. The loyalty card is something when people come to the booth to get those tokens, or if you know about it, you come and you get it stamped. So we started this in 2021 as a way of, people coming one time a year. How do we get them to come more than one time a year? And all you have to do is you don't have to shop. You don't have to tell me anything that you bought. You come and you just get it stamped. And after 5 times, you get entered to win a gift basket from the market of vendor goodies. So we'll give you a tote bag, and then it's usually like 5 to 10 different vendor products that are going to be found in there.
So to clarify, you said you don't have to buy market tokens to get punches on your punch card.
Not.
You just go to the booth and say, I'm here, and that's enough.
Just go to the market info booth, and you literally, if you just hold it out to us, we know exactly what it is, and we'll punch it. We've been doing this for years, and you do not have to get market tokens at all. Just market info booth, find the staff.
That's wonderful. So let's move on now to the market tokens. Tell me about why we have market tokens and who would use them and why.
Sure. So we don't have an ATM on site. So this acts like an ATM. So you can run your credit or debit card if you run out of cash. So I'd say at this point, a lot of our vendors will accept credit cards. But if you also want to help out a small business and avoid those credit card fees, you can run your credit or debit card, and then we'll give you tokens that work just like cash. We'll give you a $5 token that works just like a $5 bill. Everybody uses it, and you'll get cash change back. Then we also have a token program that works for Snap users. So we are our Snap retailer. The majority of our vendors accept Snap dollars, and we have tons of Snap eligible products, everything but basically hot food and hot drinks and alcohol, but almost everything else is available for Snap users. So you run your EBT card. It's a little bit different than if you're at a grocery store. So you run your EBT card first, and you take out money from us. And so we give you tokens. We'll give you like $25 and $1 tokens for you to spend on Snap eligible foods. And then we have 2 different programs that match tokens. So we have one program called Double Up Food Bucks that will matches 1-to-1. And so if you take out $25, we'll give you another additional $25 to spend on fresh fruits and vegetables. And then we run our own token program that we've expanded to cottons. Also, that's called Double Up Protein Bucks. That gives you an additional $25 to spend on protein at market. So if you swipe your card for $25, we'll give you $75 to spend at market. It gets a lot of people to the farmer's market that might not be able to afford local foods. And one thing we know is that local foods are way more nutrient dense than if you're shipping something. So the way you grow food is different, right? So if you're growing something in California, like a tomato, to ship it to Kansas, you're growing that tomato to be able to be shipped and to last a long time. And those are different traits than if you're growing it here in Kansas to sell it directly to somebody that week. You're going to grow for flavor. You're going to grow for color. You're going to grow for it being so much more packed with goodness and deliciousness than if something that has to be shipped and then it has to be usually gassed or some other type of chemical to ripen it then once it gets here.
So that's a really great program to help folks be able to eat locally. And who funds the protein bucks and the Double Up?
Sure.
Where does that money come from?
So the Double Up Food Bucks is funded by a regional program. So that is Kansas and Missouri. It's run by Double Up Heartland. So that is funded through either federal grant dollars or through other sponsors or other donors. And we manage that program and run that program. Double Up Protein Bucks, which we created ourselves, was funded by grants for its first 2 years. And then donors. And so this year it's worked into our budget, and we are gonna, we'll fundraise for it, but we'll also write grants and get sponsors for it as well.
Gotcha. Let's talk about donations. Where do you have like a Friends of the Farmers Market a committee or a group, or I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for here.
Yeah,
a foundation.
not
there
just yet. It's something we've talked about a lot. I think we're going to build up to get our capacity to that. We have a couple different donation avenues. We have an endowment fund with Douglas County Community Foundation. And so that's a way a lot of people donate to us. And then we run a Giving for Good campaign through them at the end of every year. We also run a fundraiser in October called our Sustainable Supper. And we're really excited to do that again. It was super successful and really fun this last year. So we'll run that again in October. And then we have just kind of a constant, we have a PayPal, we have other donation links if anybody wants to help support us. We also have sponsorships available. We see up to 4,400 customers in June and like in our peak season. So we have a lot of people and a lot of eyes on products. So if you are a business out there and you want to sponsor us, we will talk to you about sponsorships.
There you go.
We also do a lot of other big, other donation things. Like we're right now, it's like we have the St. Patrick's Day parade, and that's not just a parade. It is over 10 fundraisers running throughout this season that we are working on for our kid programs, which is not something we talked about yet.
I want to talk about the kid program, but first I want to hear more about our Sustainable Supper. This is new for me, and what is it? So
2025 was our second year. It's kind of evolving each year, so we haven't started to even plan it yet this year. But so our Sustainable Supper, this last year we were out at Irvin's Just Beyond Paradise Winery, and we worked with Chef T.K. Peterson from past Merchants fame, and he gathered he gathered 5 different local chefs. And then we talked with all of our local farmers. And so they sourced local foods to then create 5 different dishes. And we kind of had this like progressive type dinner. So we were out at Irvin's Winery in a courtyard, and they have like a castle courtyard that they've built out of old shipping containers. And so we had 5 different chefs in each shipping container. And so people would go up to each different booth and get a dish, and then they would get a wine paired with it. And then they would go back to their table, and we had live music playing, and it was phenomenal. We also had our first ever auction that was really, really successful. We made twice the amount of money we expected to that event. It was, for us to not have done much of a fundraiser before, that was really big for us.
It sounds like my kind of deal. That's a ticketed event, I assume?
It's a ticketed event, yes. And then we also always give, we do a raffle for 2 events as well, which is really fun. So then one lucky person for $5 will get 2 tickets to this event. But yeah, it is, everything's, included in it. And then we have, repetition coffee at the end, or hot tea from one of our local hot tea vendors. And it was super fun. The weather was gorgeous, and we hit, one of those amazing Kansas sunsets, also with it. So we will do that again, probably the beginning of October again this year.
All right. Final item on the Ghosts of Market presence, sticking with this flimsy metaphor. Let's talk about the kids program.
Yeah. So our kids program is super fun. So this is what I love. My background is in early childhood education, and I love teaching kids so much about where their local food system is. So that was one thing when I was interviewing, is they were like, how would you get more people to market? And I was like, you bring the kids and the families are going to come. And so, I started a scavenger hunt that's every single week at market. And it's based around a different local seasonal food item. And so I kind of go, all right, what's really in season? What do we have a ton of? What do we need to push? And so, all right, like it's cucumber week or whatever. So I create a little cucumber sticker that has a little face on it. And then I hide those at each booth of a vendor that is selling cucumbers. The kids will come up to our kid activity booth, and they see the sticker, and they know, okay, they'll usually go, all right, how many do I need to find? And then our volunteers will say, you have to find 10 cucumbers. And then they run around market, and it keeps them engaged. It teaches them, what is in season right then. It also teaches them vendor names, because as they get older, I challenge them to learn the vendor names and come back and say, what farms did you find these at? And then they get a little prize. It's usually a sticker or something else. And then in June and July, we expand that program to something called Play With Your Food. And that is, again, I just love kids. I love to teach them about food. So, it's for one time they can actually play with their food. And so there's 3 components to the Play With Your Food. It is a taste testing, a craft, and then some type of physical movement or nutrition education lesson all built into it. So I designed this with an intern I had. And so we have these great nutritional education lessons. We do taste testings, and then they get a little food passport that they get to stamp after each taste test that they do. And then we celebrate it at the end of the season. So we usually started off with K-State Research and Extension has a smoothie bike. So we kick it off with the smoothie bike, which is really popular. And they get to ride the bike and make their own smoothies. And then they get to taste test all of that. And then at the end of the season, we do the same thing. And we end it with a smoothie bike as well.
What a blast.
It's super fun.
Let's move right on into Ghosts of Market's Future. The farmers market is currently searching for or in the process of nailing down a permanent home that I've seen a lot of really neat plans for, and it looks very exciting. I want to hear from you. What exactly are you all looking at, and how is it going to affect the market as we know it?
Ooh. Okay, so this has been an over 20-year project that we've been looking for. And like we said, this is something I've been working on for over 5 years at this point, and we are the closest than ever that we've gotten. We are looking for a multi-use space. So it's not just going to be for the farmers market. The goal is that this is an event space also for downtown, a rentable space for people when it's not the market. Hopefully this can be something that's used by the community and by other events when the farmers market's not taking place. That's the goal of this. I am driven by the downtown Lawrence master plan and by the Parks and Recs master plan and by the food system plan. And there's a lot of city and county plans out there that have shaped to where we've gotten to what we're looking for. So where things have been at is we proposed 3 sites at the end of 2023, and then the city had come back and said, all right, we'd love you to keep doing community engagement, talk to the community, and narrow it down to give us 1 site recommendation. And so since last June, we spent so much time, over 50 different community engagements that we did, talking to the community about what they think, what about the different sites. And then out of that, we had 3 different sites. And then out of all of that community engagement, South Park repeatedly kept coming up as an idea. We weren't allowed to look at it yet until we kind of went back to the city manager, and he said, well, why not? Why don't you guys take a look at it? So then we got really serious about it and said, okay, we will take a look at South Park. This is something that everybody sees as like the community living room space. We know that, a lot of protests start there or end there, parades start there. So is it something that we can have a pavilion structure that can help enhance all of these different events that are going on there and provide a little bit more influx of like joy and community into South Park or into some park space? What I love about having a park space around us is that we know a lot of people leave the farmers market and go to South Park right now. They go to a green space to like enjoy their food or hang out. We are a market that allows dogs right now, and so we do see a lot of dogs come. So having a park space around us would be great. We have a lot of kids there. We have a pop-up playground partnership with City Play Corps where they have a playground that just pops up in this parking lot and they create it. That's not always ideal for everybody or for safety concerns. So having somewhere that there's a playground right nearby would also be amazing for all of the families that come to the market. Things that we're looking for in the future are amenities we don't have right now. Bathrooms would be incredible. We have to provide porta potties. We had an agreement with our neighbors that was not upheld, and so we now we have to pay for porta potties to have on site. Not ideal for everybody. Not ideal because they also take up an additional parking space. And so having bathrooms would just really elevate us and bring us back to we used to have bathrooms, so it'd be really great. We also would love to have more storage on site. We have a trailer and we just can't provide enough like seating for everybody and enough shade for everybody. Being out on the hot concrete or hot asphalt can be really bad. June and July, it gets really hot. And so having some type of structure to protect not only the vendors, but also the customers and the products. And so people would always love us to be out there longer, but it just gets so hot in the heat of the summer by 11:30 that, a lot of the products and the vendors are just done. So having shade would really help us to be out there longer, hopefully prolong our season as well in general. We also, we want to have seating available for our customers. Like I said, we provide tables and chairs. We provide tents if we need to have shade. But we can only provide so much because of the amount of storage space we have. And we always see people sitting on curbs and everything like that. And I think having more picnic tables, more tables available for people to gather would be really wonderful. We also currently have buskers that just kind of pop up on different corners around the market. Having one designated performance space would be really, really wonderful. We've been talking to Lawrence Music Alliance about what that could look like moving forward. If we could, as we continue to look at South Park, the commissioners have asked us to keep looking at how that can play off of the community building. And one of the thoughts that we've had with that is talking with Douglas County Corps, who is looking for a commercial kitchen space, an incubator space to help be an incubator business location. So the idea could be having workshops and having classrooms and having a kitchen space there at the community building that then could be built out to a vendor space right in a pavilion that's right out there to be able to sell your goods to people. If you're not ready to move into a brick and mortar building, it's a really good option to have that market space as the in-between.
Beautiful. It sounds like you've put some thought into this.
It's been many years.
I love it. I love the lofty plans, and it all sounds just fantastic. So that is all that I've got for you in terms of a prepared interview, and I want to move now into what is known as the lightning round.
Oh, boy.
In the lightning round, I will ask you 10 questions. They are pretty much germane to nothing that we've discussed thus far, maybe a little tailoring to you, but I'm going to ask you these 10 questions. You can answer in as few or as many words as you see fit. No explanation necessary if you do not desire, and I will not be asking any follow-up questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
What is one song that you turn off immediately?
Nickelback. Anything.
What is the best soup?
Butternut squash.
Where's your favorite place in town for carryout?
Ramen bowls.
What is one market item you have to have every Saturday?
Lebanese flowers, chili walnut dip.
It's the Dubai chocolate for me. What is one irrational fear that you have?
That I'll crash and burn at this job so bad that you all have to chase me out of town. I can't show my face anymore.
What is your favorite hobby?
Watching movies with my friends.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
The ability to stop and start time.
What is one conspiracy theory that you believe has merit?
I don't know about merit, but I do love to think about birds aren't real.
What would your autobiography's title be?
You can't send me this ahead of time?
No, that's why it's fun. It's a surprise.
Leslie Knope meets Miss Frizzle.
Because of the suit.
I mean, it's just like the whole thing. I mean, it's like I wanted to be Scully and I ended up as Miss Frizzle. It's fine.
If you were a crayon, what color would you be?
I mean, burnt orange, my favorite color.
All right. Emily, I thank you so much for coming today. Give us, please, the quick rundown on when, where, how to keep up with the goings on. You see us out.
Great. Lawrence Farmers Market opens April 11th at 7:30 to 11:30 a.m. at 824 New Hampshire Street in downtown Lawrence, Kansas. Follow us at Lawrence Farmers Market on Facebook and Instagram, or find us online at lawrencefarmersmarket.org.
Beautifully delivered. Thank you, Emily.